following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers and to my fellow Transformers collectors. This is the TFNG coming to you with a video review. The first of many that are long overdue. And today, as you can tell by the title of the video and the boxes I'm holding, this is actually going to be two sets of Transformers action figures in one. It's a double review of the two Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Kingdom Battle Across Time Amazon exclusive box sets. So in the first box set, you get brand new action figures of, well, by brand new, these are action figures of characters that haven't been given figures in a long time. So first off, we have in the first Battle Across Time set, we've got Beast Wars Grimlock and Mirage, and in the second Battle Across Time set, we've got Beast Wars Skywarp, who was originally named Silverbolt by Takara Tomy, and Sideswipe. And if you get both of these box sets of Transformers action figures, you can put them together, and the two images, the two box art images come together and make a mural. So that's an incentive on Hasbro and Takara Tomy's part to get you to buy both Amazon exclusive sets. Now, Amazon has apparently learned from their past mistakes, and unlike the Amazon exclusive sets that were sold in both the War for Cybertron Trilogy Siege line in 2019 and the Earthrise line in 2020, the Battle Across Time sets, both of them, they're still available for purchase on Amazon. They have not run out of stock, and they're still available at retail price. Occasionally, copies will pop up that are beneath retail price, and from my own experience as having a full membership with Amazon.com, the ones under retail price are typically ones where the boxes have been damaged, and so Amazon's selling them as quote-unquote new, very used but still new, so that's why they're sold at a price below that. So in the first Battle Across Time set, which was the first one revealed, we've got a Voyager class figure and a Deluxe class figure. We've got Beast Wars Grimlock and Deluxe class Mirage. So here's the artwork of them again, coming up here on the top of the box. The 2-pack that contains Beast Wars Grimlock and Mirage is known as War for Cybertron Trilogy Kingdom number 40. So the Battle Across Time set with Grimlock and Mirage is the 40th Transformers figure to be released in the Kingdom line. And with how difficult it's been for some collectors to find the action figures in the Kingdom line, it's hard to believe that at least 40 of them have been released with the Battle Across Time Grimlock and Mirage 2-pack. Here on the side of the box, you've got the artwork continuing with an image of Dinobot in his Beast mode. You've got Starscream in Jet mode, and you've got some Pterodons flying through the sky. I've seen Transformers fans and collectors joke that one of them is supposed to be Terrasol, or the character from Transformers Beast Wars. Here on this side of the box, you've got the poster image for the Transformers Kingdom line, and I gotta say, I love the way they spliced Megatron and Galvatron's faces together. There's again an image on the top of the box. It's acknowledging that you get both an Autobot and a Maximal in this 2-pack. On the bottom of the box, nothing special. You got the barcode, Ode Hasbro and Takara Tomy's disclaimer. The authentic Transformers logo. These are official products, not third party. So after the front of the box, we come to the back of the box, the second most interesting part. So you've got Grimlock and Mirage's product photos, and if you see me trying to peek around the side of the box, it's because I'm trying to read stuff off for you. For those of you who don't want to pause the video and read it for yourselves. So here we got photos of Mirage and Grimlock in both their robot modes and their alternate modes. Mirage, as you can tell, for those of you who have been keeping up with the War for Cybertron Trilogy line, is an extensive retool of the Siege version of Mirage. And the selling point for Mirage is that his retool parts give him a more Earth-styled Formula 1 race car alt mode, which is much closer to the original Generation 1 Mirage figure than the Siege version was. And then for the Beast Wars character, it's Grimlock. Grimlock did in fact get a figure in the original Transformers Beast Wars line, and I can't remember what year Grimlock was released, if it was in 1996 or 1997. And just like the original Beast Wars figure, the Kingdom version of Grimlock is a retool of Kingdom Dinobot. The only retool part Grimlock has is that he has a new robot mode head sculpt, and I believe it's supposed to mirror the head sculpt on the original Generation 1 Grimlock action figure. figure, which did have a mouth play and eyes like that. And here is Grimlock in his Velociraptor Beast mode. And for being just a repaint of Dinobot with the only retool part being his new robot mode head sculpt, well, Grimlock does look pretty impressive looking with his mostly white paint job. But the original Beast Wars Grimlock figure had kind of like a Dalmatian spot pattern in his Beast mode, where he was a mostly white skinned Velociraptor with black spots running down his back. They tried to mimic that here, but I guess as they decided the new skin tone pattern that they gave Kingdom Grimlock was much closer to how paleontologists believe the Velociraptor actually looked. Although, in more recent years it's been widely accepted the scientific hypothesis is that the Velociraptor was one of the species of dinosaurs that most definitely was covered in feathers. So, yeah, the Velociraptor has become one of the dinosaur species whose appearance will permanently change as more scientific study is done on the fossilized remains of dinosaurs. And Grimlock, being a Voyager class figure, he transforms back and forth between both modes in 28 steps. Mirage transforms back and forth in just 20 steps. And so that has been a look at Mirage and Grimlock's box. Bringing on the second Battle Across Time 2-pack. And here we've got Sideswipe and Beast Wars Skywarp. And out of all the 4 figures that have been released in the 2 Battle Across Time sets, for Beast Wars fans, Skywarp has been the one that's been the most disappointing, and that's because Skywarp in the original Beast Wars line, I can't remember if it was Beast Wars 2nd that he was released or if he was released in the Japanese Beast Wars line, but originally Skywarp was a member of a 3-robot combiner that combined to form a beast combiner named Magnaboss. A lot of Transformers fans and collectors were hoping that we might get a new Magnaboss figure in the Kingdom line, but that appears not to be the case with Skywarp's action figure being released in the Battle Across Time set. Skywarp, just like Grimlock, for those of you who've been keeping up with the Transformers Kingdom line, Skywarp is a repaint of Kingdom Eraser with a new head sculpt. So just like Grimlock, he's nothing new under the sun. And if you hear any background noises, you can tell this is my family's pet cat. And he's decided to come nosing around since I'm the only other person at home right now. And then, of course, just like Mirage, the reason why we're getting Sideswipe in this figure in this set is because this is a Earth mode version of Sideswipe, whereas the previous figure released in the Siege line was supposed to be his Cybertronian mode. So here is Sideswipe and Skywarp's artwork. And as you could tell, when I had the 2 boxes together, Skywarp's wing being on Mirage and Grimlock's box, connecting the 2 halves of the mural together. That was an inkling to longtime Beast Wars fans that Skywarp might be one of the other Transformers figures being released in these 2 packs. So that's why there was a lot of hype that maybe we might get a new Magnaboss figure. But unfortunately, we just got Skywarp. Time will tell as of this video's recording during November of 2021 if we ever get a full Magnaboss combiner figure in the Generations line, or if we might even get figures of the Beast Wars versions of Prowl and Ironhide. But yes, moving here to the side of the box, you've got the artwork continuing over with Beast Wars Scorponok in his Beast mode. You've got some lava, I believe that's just an explosion. It could be the volcano that the Ark was crashed in. I honestly don't know. And then, of course, you've got some more pterodactyls here on the bottom of the box. And if you hear any noise, that's my family's cat purring because he's excited to be near another living being. He's been sleeping all day long. I should have closed my bedroom door to not let him in, but from other reviewers I've seen who let their pet cats walk around them, their subscribers didn't really mind to do it, so hopefully he won't be too much of a distraction for me and for you watching the video. So here on the top of the box, this is something that I found a little odd when I first got these sets in hand, was that Mirage and Grimlock were number 40, but the 2-pack containing Sideswipe and Skywarp is number 42. So for those of you wondering which Transformers Kingdom figure is number 41, it's the Target exclusive Deluxe Class Road Rage figure. A friend of mine sent that to me, so thank you once again to you, Snoke Spinal Tap. A little shout out to you. you hear in the video. But yes, Sideswipe and Skywarp are the 42nd Transformers figures to be released in the Kingdom line. And because of how Hasbro and Takara wanted to do the artwork for both sets, where they make a mural, and the way the boxes come together to form the mural, the box that Skywarp and Mirage, and I almost said Mirage, that Skywarp and Sideswipe come in, it has become the only box in the Transformers Kingdom line in which the angled trapezoid shape of the box is reversed from all the other boxes in the Siege line. Now, bringing back Road Rage for a second, all of the Transformers Kingdom boxes have the angled side of the box facing in that direction. So yes, Skywarp and Sideswipe, that's what makes their box that they come in unique, is that the angled side of the box is on the opposite side of everyone else's to make that mural with the artwork. So I found that a little entertaining, seeing Hasbro and Takara decided to do that to make the two halves of the artwork on both sets come together. Here on the bottom of the box again, just like Mirage and Grimlock, you've got the authentic Transformers logo and the barcode, disclaimers. Here on the back of the box, you've got the product photos. You got Sideswipe and Skywarp in their robot modes and in their alternate modes. And just like Mirage, Sideswipe is an extensive retool of the Siege figure, but his new retool parts allow him to transform into a more Earth-looking sports car that more closely resembles the Lamborghini Countach, at least a stylized version of it. And Sideswipe transforms back and forth between robot mode and alternate mode in 16 steps. Skywarp, just like Beast Wars Grimlock, he is a repaint of Kingdom Airraiser, and the only head sculpt to distinguish him from Airraiser, the figure that he's mold mates with, is his robot mode head. And the way the original Beast Wars Skywarp figure, the way it transformed, the robot mode head was hidden underneath the eagle head. And because this figure is a repaint with a new robot mode head of Kingdom Airraiser, and the actual beast head forms the robot mode chest, they designed Skywarp's head to make it look like he has an eagle's head for a helmet. So yeah, I'll leave you to decide what you think of that. And to distinguish Skywarp further from Airraiser, just like the original Beast Wars figure, the bird of prey that he transforms into is supposed to be a bald eagle, whereas Airraiser was supposed to be a hawk. But yes, that's about it for the boxes, so without further delay, hey, let's get them opened up and take a look at the action figures that you get inside. Alright, and so here they are out of the packaging, and if they look a little dusty when I put them up close to the camera, that's actually because I got these sets like everyone else when they first came out. I've gotten way behind in reviewing my Transformers action figures. As you can see, the wall behind me is cluttered with Transformers action figures that I've been keep putting off doing video reviews on. So for those of you who have been wondering what this is, I apologize for not pointing it out earlier. I borrowed one of my family's trays to try and see if having an elevated platform to review my Transformers action figures would be better than what I've been doing in my past reviews, where I'm holding the figures up in my hands. And so we'll see how this plays out. If it's a success, please let me know. Oh, and I'll see if my family will let me borrow this tray to make further video reviews. But yes, the 4 Transformers action figures you get in the 2 Transformers Kingdom Battle Across Time sets, you get 1 Voyager class figure and 3 deluxes. So in the first 2 pack, you've got Grimlock and Mirage, and in the second pack, you've got Skywarp and Sideswipe. And Transformers fans who are strictly Beast Wars fans, and Transformers fans and collectors who are strictly Generation 1 fans, they've all been kind of disappointed with Hasbro and Takara Tomi's decision to mix and match the G1 and Beast Wars figures together. A lot of Transformers fans and collectors would have preferred if Grimlock and Skywarp had been sold in a Beast Wars pack, and if Earth Mode Mirage and Earth Mode Sideswipe had been sold in a G1 2-pack. But I can see the marketing strategy in Hasbro and Takara Tomy doing that. And from a financial standpoint for Hasbro and Takara Tomy, Transformers fans who are strictly Beast Wars fans who want to add both Grimlock and Skywarp to their box set, to their Transformers collections, and absolutely cannot live without having both figures in their collections, they will buy both of these packs. And likewise with Transformers fans and collectors who are strictly Generation 1 fans who absolutely want to have Earth mode versions of Mirage and Sideswipe, they will get both 2 packs. And if you don't want any of these 4 figures in your collections, then there's always the chance of selling them on eBay. And so I just think that's Hasbro and Takara Tomi's, mostly Hasbro's, thinking process with deciding which Transformers exclusives are sold in which box sets. And which ones are sold in 2 packs and which ones are sold individually. So for those of you who have been collecting the War vs. Cybertron trilogy line, pretty much these figures are all repaints and retools of pre-existing figures. So bringing Grimlock up a little closer to the camera, as I said before, the only new sculpted detail to distinguish Grimlock from Dinobot is his new head sculpt. So if you have the Kingdom Voyager class Dinobot figure, there's nothing new to Grimlock other than his head sculpt and his paint job. He's got the same points of articulation in him as well. A swivel joint in the head, a waist swivel right here. His elbow is actually supposed to bend at this circular joint right here, but if you're not too careful, there's nothing to lock the actual shoulder blade into the torso, so that could pull up as well. Swivel joints, as you can see in the bicep, hinged elbows. He actually has double jointed wrists. He has a swivel joint that allows the arm to rotate clockwise and counterclockwise 360 degrees. And then, of course, the whole hand can rotate inward and outward like that. So yeah, you can get a lot of decent posability with this mold. Old. For leg articulation, got universal jointed hips, so the legs can go out not quite 90 degrees. They can move forward that much. They can move back only that far because of how the sculpted detailing here in the robot mode gluteus maximus has been designed. It prevents the upper legs from going back that far unless you rotate them out in a wide distance. That's pretty much it. You got hinged knees, these ankle rockers, which on my copy of Grimlock they're a little stiff. I don't know how that is on other people's problems. And of course the feet can move up and down at the ankle as well. Now, and for a quick size comparison with Beast Wars with Kingdom Dinobot, here is Grimlock next to Dinobot. I will take Dinobot out of his box soon and review him soon, and I will do a robot mode comparison with Grimlock once I have Dinobot in hand, so yeah, there should be a chance to still see Grimlock next to his mold mate pretty soon. And here is Mirage. I personally enjoy Mirage quite well, even though a lot of Transformers fans and collectors have said that the Kingdom Earth mode Mirage figure could have been done a lot better than what it is. The main gripe everyone has with Mirage, and this is my main gripe with Mirage as well, is that there's no 5mm port on his shoulders, so unfortunately Mirage cannot actually attach his shoulder cannon onto his shoulder. There are 5mm ports on the back of the shoulder blade, so you can have it attaching facing upward, and of course the moment I have him on camera, Mirage doesn't want to cooperate, so you do have the option of plugging it onto the back of the shoulder if you desire, but unfortunately that just looks silly having it pointed upward. In the G1 cartoon, Mirage had his shoulder cannon at an angle, so if you want it at a slight angle, you can have it facing like that, but to do that, you have to rotate Mirage's arm so it looks like he's getting ready to punch someone. So that's the main gripe with Mirage, and some collectors who have come out with 3D printed upgrade kits that show that Mirage can transform from his robot mode to his alt mode with a 5mm peg hole here on the back of his shoulder. So that's been one of the big callouts that Transformers fans and collectors have had to the designers with Hasbro and Takara Tomy, is why Mirage couldn't have a 5mm port to have his shoulder cannon actually plug onto his shoulder. Another gripe to be had with Mirage is that the 5mm port right here on the center of his back, it's slightly too big. Instead of 5mm, it's actually 5 well, I don't know the exact decimal count, but yeah, it's slightly larger than 5mm, so there's no 5mm peg-on weapon that can plug onto the center of Mirage's back. Actually, that's another gripe with Mirage, but all in all, Mirage is a pretty decent deluxe class figure, and the one thing that the Kingdom Earth mode version of Mirage has going for him that makes him superior to the Siege Mirage figure is the blatant fact that the blue plastic used on his lower legs is solid plastic, it's not clear. Here, and if you can hear my cat purring, that's because he's wanting me to give him affection. Sorry, I can't do it right now. I'll try to do as best as I can. So for a size comparison, here is Kingdom Earth mode Mirage next to Siege Mirage. And as far as which action figure of Mirage is the better version, even though it has clear plastic on the robot mode legs, a lot of Transformers fans and collectors still think that the Siege version of Mirage is the slightly better of the two figures. Basically, if the Siege version of Mirage had solid blue plastic on the robot mode legs, this would be the better Mirage figure. So where they stand as far as which version of Mirage is the better figure to get, the general consensus from Transformers fans and collectors is that they're both equally amazing Transformers figures. But for me personally, I thoroughly am happy to finally have an Earth mode version of Mirage in my Transformers collection. So next up we have Beast Wars Skywarp. Now I mentioned earlier in the video that he was named Silverbolt by Takara Tomy in Japan. I believe he was released in the Transformers Beast Wars second line. That's the line that Magnaboss was released in. Out of all four figures, even though collectors have a lot of gripes with Mirage, Skywarp is the one that's been the most disappointing of the four Battle Across Time figures, especially with Beast Wars fans, due to the fact that Skywarp was originally a combiner. He formed the head and upper torso of Magnaboss. So the fact that he's been given a non-combining figure in the Kingdom line, Beast Wars fans have taken that as a sign that Magnaboss is one of the characters and one of the combiner Transformers that is not on Hasbro and Takara Tomy's list of Transformers characters that need to be given a new figure in the Transformers Generations line. But as he stands as he is the Kingdom version of Skywarp. It's a pretty decent deluxe figure, especially for being a repaint with a new robot mode head sculpt of Kingdom Airazor. It does a nice job of looking like a bald eagle when it's in beast mode, and that was one of the selling points for me with adding Beast Wars Skyward to my Transformers collection. I have to admit this right now. I only got the Battle Across Time sets for the two Generation 1 figures of Mirage and Sideswipe. I am slightly more of a Generation 1 Transformers fan than I am of Beast Wars, but now that I've had Grimlock and Skywarp in my collection for the past few months, they've really grown on me, and I'm now even more excited to finally get their mold mates out of their boxes and do reviews of them. So, unfortunately, just like Dinobot, Airazor I still have in her box. When I take her out, I will do comparisons between her and Skywarp. But yes, the only sculpting difference between Skywarp and Airazor are the different heads. But yeah, Skywarp does a pretty nice job of being a bald eagle, whereas Airazor is supposed to be a hawk. And just like Airazor, Skywarp has the same articulation. His head is on a ball joint that is a little loose, so he can look upward more so than any of the other Battle Across Time figures do. His head can rotate left and right. I do God. The arms can move upward and backward on the shoulder joint, but it's stiff on Skywarp, so I recommend not moving it too much. The arm can move outward on the inside of the shoulder joint. You got a bicep swivel, hinged elbow. You don't actually get wrist swivels, and that's due to the fact that you actually get a lower arm bend. And on Skywarp, so he actually has double jointed elbows, but that's mainly due to transformation from robot mode to beast mode. He does have a swivel waist, but in order to rotate it found successfully, you do have to pop up the tail feathers, which do plug into his back in robot mode, so that's a little distracting, I think, having the tail feathers block that. The legs can move forward that much. They can rotate. Again, if you detach the tail feathers, the legs can move back that much. And much, you got swivel joints in the thighs, eyes, hinge knees, And the feet are attached at the ankle on a ball joint, so they can be angled inward and outward and bend up and down slightly. And this is the main gripe I have with Skywarp, and this is the reason why, out of all four of these figures, Skywarp is the most difficult to stand up. When he's in beast mode, you get this knee joint that Birds of Prey do have, and for when he's in beast mode, but unfortunately they don't lock into place fairly well in robot mode, and so Skywarp has proven to be the most difficult of all four of these deluxe figures to stand up. He's proving that right now. So yes, out of all the Maximals, those from the few that I've unboxed already, I can tell Skywarp and also Airazor might be the most difficult to pose. And then of course, just like Airazor with Skywarp, you can pose his wings however much you want. There's multiple joints on them, so you can give him a wide-winged pose, or you can give him a more closed wing pose that I had him in. I believe the closed wing pose is supposed to be utilized in robot mode and the open wings for beast mode. But yeah, all in all, I thoroughly enjoy Skywarp. I consider myself a patriotic United States citizen, so to finally have a Transformers action figure that transforms into the bald eagle, the national bird of the United States, I wholeheartedly enjoy that. So yeah, the Kingdom's Beast Wars version of Skywarp, even though this version of him doesn't have the ability of combining into Magnaboss, I'm thoroughly happy to have it in my Transformers collection. Pretty much the only gripe I have with the Kingdom version of Skywarp is this right here. The white feathers on his wings are white paint done over brown plastic, and it's thick. It's a thick enough set of white that if it were to accidentally hit something hard, especially on the feather tips, the paint could chip off, and it looks like there's brown spots on Skywarp's wings. So yeah, that's pretty much the only gripe I have with Skywarp. Well, one of two gripes. The other gripe, of course, being his difficulty to stand up due to the bird knees still being present in his robot mode. But yeah, all in all, that is a look at Skywarp. Last but definitely by no means least, we have Kingdom Earth mode Sideswipe. And out of the four figures in the Battle Across Time sets, Sideswipe has been the most impressive looking of the four, or amongst Transformers collectors and fans. Even though there are a few gripes to still be had with Sideswipe, one of them being that if you look right through there, Sideswipe has a uh, hole going through the center of his torso, so you can see straight through Sideswipe. Because one of the parts that wasn't retooled was his robot mode pelvic area, or his abdomen, I should say. No, it's his abdomen. And the newly sculpted robot mode chest, which forms the front bumper and the hood of the Lamborghini alt mode. It doesn't line up properly with that, so it leaves a gap in Sideswipe. But other than that, Sideswipe is the most impressive out of the four figures. And one thing that I love about the Kingdom version of Sideswipe is the fact that, unlike the Siege version of Sideswipe, where the white on him was like a soapy ivory white, the white parts on the Kingdom Earth mode version of Sideswipe, it's solid white. It's a pure white on here. But that's where one of the gripes I have with the Kingdom Sideswipe figure is the white on his weapons and also his robot mode feet. Those are actually black plastic parts that have been painted white. Right. So the only white parts Sideswipe has are his robot mode elbows, his robot mode thighs, and right there the two shoulder guards, as where you can insert his shoulder can. And those are the only parts that are done in white plastic. Even the white there on Sideswipe's abdomen, and that's white paint as well. Also, it is a letdown to know that half of Sideswipe's pure white parts are actually, or solid white parts, I should say, that they're actually black plastic that have been painted over white. But all in all, Sideswipe is a really great looking figure, and I really enjoy boy, how he looks so much more like the Generation 1 version of Sideswipe with his new sculpted parts. Now, I apologize, I did not get a hold of my copy of Siege Sideswipe for a robot mode size comparison, but I did get a hold of Sunstreaker. So now Sunstreaker and Sideswipe both transform into more Earth-styled Lamborghini Countaches. And seeing them both having Earth modes now standing next to each other, I really enjoy these figures because they look like they popped out of the cartoon that Zumbo Studios animated back in the 80s. So that's really impressive looking. So now that so pretty much the only disappointment I have is that Sunstreaker now doesn't have a single laser gun, whereas Sideswipe has two. But yeah, that's actually more of a minor nitpick than anything else. So the video's gone on longer than I wanted it to, so I will try and wrap things up. I will get these guys transformed into their alternate modes, and we will take a look at what they look like transformed, and I will be back momentarily. Alright, and so here we are having a look at all four of these guys in their alternate modes. So yes, they are pretty impressive looking. I apologize for changing the camera angle. It was the best way I could get them all in full screen shot. So as you can tell, Sideswipe and Mirage transform into cars, while Grimlock and Skywarp transform into animals. And I gotta say, they are all each decent looking in their own right. So moving the camera back up to almost where it was before. Here is Grimlock in his Velociraptor alt after Beast mode, and they kind of mimicked those Dalmatian stripes that the original Beast Wars Grimlock figure had, but they painted Grimlock's back gray, which was a reference to the top of his tail, the paint job it had, and so they just decided to continue it all the way down. Now, I said this to some of my fellow collectors on their reviews of Kingdom Dinobot. The main gripe I have with this figure in Beast mode is the way the claws have been positioned. It almost looks like the wrist has been broken. So I think it would have been better if they'd done them at a different angle. But if you angle and on the official product photos, you're supposed to product photos for Dinobot, they display his arms being angled down like this, and yeah, that just looks silly. So what I like to do is if I can get it correctly, yeah, I like to display the arms like that, so it looks like the Velociraptor is running towards you and it's about to grab you with its hands. So yeah, that's pretty impressive looking. In Beast mode, because of how the robot mode legs, the upper half of the robot mode, because blah, 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 my mind's working faster than my tongue. I apologize for that moment there, but in Velociraptor mode, just like Dinobot, Grimlock, the articulation in his legs is somewhat limited due to the fact that they transform into the robot mode arms. And one thing that Grimlock retains from Dinobot is the faux eyeballs, all forming the sides of the chest to make it look like the Velociraptor head flattened out and form the entire robot mode chest. But unlike Dinobot, the irises aren't painted in since it's just the same white used everywhere else. Also, it's not as noticeable as it is on Dinobot, but in terms of articulation in his legs, pretty much all that Grimlock has is his knees bending outward like that, and then the feet moving upwards and downwards like that. That's the articulation is somewhat limited. Unlike the original Beast Wars Dinobot figure and Grimlock figure also, the tail does not possess the spinning gimmick, so it's permanently stuck that way. So Beast Wars fans who always wanted to have copies of Dinobot and now Grimlock having a sturdier tail that doesn't spin around the Kingdom figures now give you the ability to do that. The jaw can open and close also, but as you saw right there, the upper joint that moves the top of the head up and down is more loose than the joint that allows the lower jaw to open and close shut. So getting the jaw to open properly and getting Grimlock as well as Dinobot into a roaring pose with their mouths, it can be somewhat difficult, but One thing I do like about Grimlock is that the roof of his mouth and his tongue have been painted red, so he does look like an actual velociraptor. Would have been nice if they painted the inside of the back of the throat out either red or dark red to like show that it's going down into the precipice. Yes, but yeah, that's pretty great looking. And of course, as I said before, most of the articulation is in the arms, so you are allowed some pretty dynamic poses with the arms, but the official position of the arms in the product photos where they're facing downward like that just looks silly because the way they designed the claws, it looks like Grimlock and also Dinobot, it looks like they broke their wrists. Yes, but yeah, that's pretty much most all there is to say about Grimlock for being in because the only retool part he has is his robot mode head. In beast mode, he is a straight up repaint of Dinobot, but for his mostly white and gray paint scheme, it does allow Grimlock to transform into a pretty decent looking Velociraptor mode. Pretty much what hurts him being a robot in disguise is the fact that the bottom of the robot mode feet form the gluteus maximus of the Velociraptor mode, but that's just a minor nitpick that can be overlooked. And one thing that a lot of Transformers fans and collectors have been posting recently in their reviews of the recently released Transformers Jurassic Park crossover figure, particularly with Tyrannicon Rex. The sun's now shining through my window. It wasn't before. But one thing that everyone has been griping about is how the eyeballs are painted. So there's a close-up of Grimlock's eyes. It's hard to tell because of the sunlight shining through my window now, but one of the pupils is at a slightly different angle from the other one. But on Grimlock, they did come out pretty decent looking. But yeah, there is Grimlock in his Velociraptor mode. Next up is Mirage, and as you can tell, just like in robot mode, in alternate mode, it's odd if you've collected the Siege version of Mirage. The amount of retool parts are almost the same as the amount of parts that are the same on the Kingdom version of Mirage. One part that's the same is the wheels. They're the exact same wheels used on the Siege version of Mirage. So pretty much the main difference you might notice first is that the Kingdom Earth mode version of Mirage now has an open cockpit, but unfortunately, because of how it transforms by splitting in half to form the robot mode legs, there's no actual seat for a driver to sit in there. And the other difference you'll notice compared to the Siege version of Mirage is that Mirage is two laser guns now stored on the side eyes of him instead of on the back racing spoiler, which is much smaller compared to the Siege version. So speaking of the Siege version of Mirage, here is a size comparison of both Mirage's Cybertron alt mode and Earth alt mode, and yes, I think they look pretty decent looking compared to one another. One thing that the Kingdom Earth mode version of Mirage has beat over the Siege version, at least that's how it is on my copies. The laser guns do stay in place fairly securely, whereas on the Siege version of Mirage, the 5mm peg holes on the racing spoiler are a little loose, so the laser guns, particularly this gray one, A1, Mirage's actual laser gun, not his shoulder cannon, it does want to swivel around quite a lot. But yeah, that's pretty impressive how the parts that Hasbro and Takatomi did retool and the parts that remain the same allowed the same mold basically to give Mirage both his Earth mode and Cybertron alt modes. They're almost the same length, but depending on how you have them displayed next to each other in race car mode, the Kingdom Earth mode version of Mirage is slightly longer than the Siege version, but it's only by a couple of centimeters, not too much of a length difference. One obvious difference is that Mirage has Cybertronian writing on the sides of his doors, whereas the Kingdom version of Mirage has the number 26 X on the side of him. And yes, all in all, I think they did a fairly decent job retooling the Siege Mirage into a Kingdom Earth mode version. Now, one thing to be aware of, and unfortunately you have no way of knowing this until you get Mirage out of the box and you transform him from robot mode into his alternate mode. Apparently, this has been a universal problem with the Kingdom Earth mode version of Mirage, but the two halves of his Autobot logo don't line up properly. On my copy, they don't really line up properly, and it looks like this Autobot logo is slouching on one half of the face shield, so My copy of Mirage, it's not as bad as it's been on other copies of Mirage, but yeah, it is unfortunately harder to find a copy of Mirage that has the Autobot logo lining up perfectly than ones that don't. So that is unfortunately one thing where the Siege version of Mirage has the Kingdom version beat out, is that the Autobot logo does line up more properly. And for those of you wondering if you can switch out the leg pieces on Mirage, if you want to have a larger Autobot logo that lines up more properly. I'm looking at them right now. I haven't seen any video reviews, but it looks like, wow, I can't believe it. That is one part that's the same on both versions of Mirage, are the leg pieces that these Autobot logos are on. So I might just have to switch them out and give the Earth mode version of Mirage the larger Autobot logo that lines up more easily. So I'll see how that goes. Easily, and from what I can tell, these leg parts are held in place aren't held in place by any pins, so see how that goes. I haven't seen any other videos of people doing it, so I don't know how well of a success it is. So moving on to Skywarp, as you can see, he, just like in robot mode, he utilizes the same legs in bird mode. So out of all four of these, Skywarp is the one that's most difficult to stand up in bird mode. But other than the legs making him flop around, and when he's standing on a solid surface, he does have a pretty decent amount of articulation. If you want to do a stop motion video of Skywarp, you could do a video of him flapping his wings up and down, and the widest you can get the wings spread out is roughly, they are curled at the tips. Yes, but yeah, right there is the widest that Skywarp's wingspan can get, and it is almost as wide as Grimlock is long from head to tail. So that's pretty impressive looking, that when the wings are fully splayed out, Skywarp is almost wide enough to be as tall as a Voyager class Transformers figure. I apologize for not doing any size comparisons of Grimlock and Skywarp with any other Transformers figures, but when I do get around to finally opening up and reviewing Airazor and Dinobot, I will do comparisons of them with Skywarp and Grimlock. And if you wanted to, you could fold up Skywarp's wings, and you can get him into a more sitting pose, just like when birds of prey are perched on top. Unfortunately, you can't. The wings don't rotate backwards, so you can't get him into an actual sitting position. But one thing you can do is you can angle his head, can point downward, and you can angle his legs back, so it looks like as he again falls over. You can get it to look like he's not only resting, but he's actually perched on something. So that's a pretty cool bit of transformation with Skywarp right there. But again, these legs of his is prevent him from standing up properly. The only reason he's standing up properly right now is because the wingtips are acting as crutches to help him stand up. But yeah, it is more difficult to It is just as difficult to, if not more, to have Skywarp sitting on a solid surface in beast mode than it is in robot mode. And finally, once again, last but definitely by no means least, we have Sideswipe. And out of all four of these figures in the two Battle Across Time sets, my favorites, even though I doted about Skywarp being a bald eagle and enjoying how much of an improvement I personally believe the Kingdom version of Mirage is compared to the Siege version, or how decent it is still. My favorite figures are a tie between Sideswipe and Grimlock. I just love all the detailing that went into Grimlock there. But one thing that I've enjoyed most about the Kingdom Earth mode version of Sideswipe, and again, I apologize for not having my Siege version of Sideswipe brought out, but one gripe that I did have with my copy of Sideswipe is that one of the front wheels on him did not want to spin, and so I actually switched it out with the other front wheel. I put them on opposite sides, and then I noticed the reason why it wasn't spinning is because there was a tiny bit of plastic that wasn't shaved off at the factory, and it was preventing it from spinning around. But yeah, I did have to give Sideswipe a wheel fix, but honestly, I'm really enjoying how much Actually looks like a Lamborghini Countach. And I don't know, and I'll say it right now. Now, the new sculpted detailing on the Kingdom version of Sideswipe, he does not have the same holes as the Siege version of Sideswipe did. So anyone out there who bought any of the upgrade kits for the Siege version of Sideswipe that gives him a racing spoiler, you are going to have to design a new upgrade kit for the Kingdom version of Sideswipe, since the kit for the Siege version will not work with this new figure. And unfortunately, unlike the Siege version of Sideswipe, where his laser gun stored on the roof of his alternate mode, you do have to store the best place to store the weapons is on the sides of him, and that's because the Kingdom version of Sideswipe comes with the same additional laser gun that came with the Siege and also the Kingdom versions of Red Alert. I do not have the Kingdom version of Red Alert yet. It's being released exclusively at Walgreens pharmacies, and my local Walgreens pharmacy is really a really tiny Walgreens. It does not ever carry and store any of the exclusive action figures or products sold at Walgreens. So at this point, I will most likely end up having to wait for the Kingdom version of Red Alert to appear on another website. Right, but considering how scarce exclusive Transformers figures in the Kingdom version have been, well, not the Kingdom line. Let me rephrase that. The Walgreens exclusive Transformers figures have been, how scarce those Transformers figures have been, and I probably won't end up getting Kingdom Red Alert until next year. So if I do manage to find Red Alert, or it might just be the last Kingdom figure that I add to my Transformers collection. But yeah, all in all, I do thoroughly enjoy all the retool parts that have been done on Siege Sideswipe, and the one thing I enjoy most, bringing back Earthrise Sunstreaker for a size comparison, one thing I enjoy most about the Kingdom Earth mode version of Sideswipe is something that a lot of Transformers fans and collectors haven't actually pointed out before, and if they did, they didn't do it with as much enthusiasm as I am right now. But this is one thing I enjoy most about Kingdom Sideswipe, and it's this right here. Sideswipe now has the exact same window design as Earthrise Sunstreaker, and I believe the exhaust vents are they're not quite the same, but they're almost the same. But yeah, I enjoy this right here. Sideswipe now has the exact same windows. They're the same size and shape as those used on the Earthrise version of Sunstreaker. Yet at the same time, they blatantly transform completely differently. And because Sunstreaker's windows form his legs and his robot mode chest, while Sideswipe's only form the robot mode chest, that's pretty fantastic engineering, I feel, for Hasbro and Descartes Tomy to design the exact same size and shape of windows for Sideswipe that were designed on Sunstreaker, but yet they still transform differently. So yeah, that's pretty impressive looking how Sunstreaker and Sideswipe transform into almost the exact same type of Lamborghini, yet they transform into completely different robot modes. So bringing the camera back down one more time and doing it on full screen right there. So I apologize for this video being longer than I wanted it to, but yes, this has been a double review of both of the Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Kingdom Amazon exclusive Battle Across Time box sets. You got Grimlock and Mirage in one set, and you've got Skywarp and Sideswipe in another set. And for the proverbial question, do I recommend getting these sets and adding them to your Transformers collection? Absolutely. I highly recommend getting both sets if you can. You can get them both. They are still both available at Amazon.com. Amazon learned from all the criticism from the Transformers community about the exclusives on their website being extremely hard to find and selling out right away. So Amazon, it appears, stockpiled the Battle Across Time Kingdom packs. They're still available at Amazon.com. They have not sold out and become extremely hard to find, unlike the exclusive Transformers sold through Amazon for the Siege and Earthrise line. And despite the gripes that these figures have particularly Mirage and Skywarp, despite the flaws that all four of them have, including Grimlock and Sideswipe, I do highly recommend you get all four of these Transformers action figures. Is it a pain that we get a Generation 1 and a Beast Wars character in both of the box sets instead of one box set of Beast Wars and one box set of Generation 1. It is absolutely frustrating, but all in all, with what you get and the prices you pay, I think both exclusive box sets are worth adding to your Transformers collection. So yes, this has been the TFN Geek. This has been my double review of both of the Transformers Battle Across Time sets. Thank you to all my subscribers for your continued support. Thank you again, Snoke Spinal Tap, for that Kingdom Road Rage figure you sent me. I promise to do a video review of that soon. So stay tuned, you guys. Hang in there. It's been a long time since I've done reviews, but I'm hoping to get a lot more done in the coming weeks leading up to Christmas. So thank you guys all so much, and remember to stay safe, stay healthy, and until next time, you guys, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.